A few days ago, the world-changing artist and singer Carmen left this world and went home to be with Jesus. It was unexpected for pretty much everybody. And this one has actually impacted me a little bit, but it's also left me feeling motivated. So I'm gonna ride, yeah. You know, usually high-profile passings like this haven't, impacted me very much at all, but this one hits a little bit different because I had such a personal connection to it. I didn't know Carmen personally, although I would have liked to and I expected to one day. But he was the musical inspiration for me as a kid. You know, being raised by a single mother and my grandparents, he was this awesome male role model who was a musician, he was an actor. The characters that he got to play in his music videos and his movies were just, when you're 5, 8 years old, were just inspiring. And he also broke so many records and plowed so much ground in such a way that even people in the industry right now, specifically regarding Christian artists, people are saying, nobody did what he did, and so far, no one has done it since. And he also led thousands and thousands of people to Jesus. Carmen was kind of my mom and I's thing as I was growing up. I remember sitting in her car and listening to his music as she drove around doing errands. I remember listening to, I think it was the Riot album, on earbuds, on a cassette tape player on an airplane to Germany. I got to go to one of his stadium concerts when I was about 5 years old, and I still have these really vivid snapshots living in my head. He played in the round. I remember he came up through the middle of the stage, and it wasn't just a regular music show. The band played in a pit around the stage, but the action was reenacting so many of his music videos with the props and the characters, the costumes, the dancers. I remember the confetti, and it was just a memorable experience which made it that much more impactful. But when I look at so many of the things that I've been inspired to want to do in my life, thinking back about it now, I think a lot of those things started with what I saw him doing. He was, as far as I understand it, the only Christian artist to be headlining and filling up stadiums. In fact, I think his concert in Texas Stadium had like 72,000 people in it. And the motivation comes from, man, we need more of that. And I know that that's not everybody's destiny, everybody's desire, everybody's calling. But man, the guy thought big. So let's talk about his life for a minute here. Here's a dude from an Italian guy from New Jersey. Somehow his music touched gospel, rock, pop, rap, and country. I kid you not. I could name a song in each one of those categories that came from him. Test me on this. And then he was so prolific where music videos were concerned. This guy had a music video for, it seemed like every song, not just 1 or 2 music videos per album. I'm talking like nearly every song. They were high production videos. They had sets and costumes and storylines. And so often he got to be just really cool, like an action hero. In one, he's a knight fighting his way through a castle. In another, he's a secret agent. In another, he's leading an industrial revolt. Sometimes he's a storyteller, or obviously a preacher or a musician. And he just made it really, really cool, all the while still pointing people to Jesus. And all the while still not being self-aggrandizing, which I think was, just such an interesting touch point. And if you turn around, he also had an acting career. It wasn't his main focus, and I don't remember if he was the best actor in the world. It's been a while since I've seen his stuff, but I remember he wasn't bad. He was good. He did one where he was a police officer, another one where he was a boxer. And then on top of that, he had media specific for kids and music videos specifically for kids. And he also wrote some books and devotionals. As a musician myself, as an actor, a director, a cinematographer, and a writer myself who wants to make inspiring cinematic experiences both in my music videos and in other places, and as someone who is active in ministry and wants to see everybody come to Jesus. I look at his life and I think about how he did so many of those things and threaded so many of those things together. And I think that's because he thought big, he did things with excellence while he was here, and he glorified God and led people to Jesus while he did it. You know, I was expecting that one day, as I grew up in the music industry, that I would get the chance this side of heaven to have a conversation with him and tell him the way that he inspired me, and maybe even stand shoulder to shoulder with him on stage. And while that won't happen while we're here, and that's part of what kind of bums me out, I know I'll get my chance one day. And that leads me to the motivation. Take this in a measured way, because I know that everybody's desires and everybody's paths are different. But man, he's left some big shoes to fill. And being really straight here, I feel like addressing this more to my Christian peers, let's look at his life and let it inspire us to not be afraid, to think big, bigger than people think is reasonable, and to prosper in order to do what we've been created to do on a scale that is both wide and deep and impactful. Because you can't argue with the results, right? He did that. One of the things that has held back so many people of faith is that they've internalized and taken upon themselves that identity of the starving artist. And I think it comes from a place of their own personal estimation of what it means to be humble. And look, I believe God has a problem with greed, but I believe he does not have a problem with prosperity. And there is a difference between the two things. That's a little bit more of a deeper conversation that we can have another day. I don't know the ins and outs of the whole man's life, but clearly he didn't let anything limit God or himself when it came to the vision that was going on in his life. So I just wanted to take this moment while it was fresh and talk about how thankful I am for the influence he was on me and so many others as I was growing up. I know that a lot of us probably went through this middle period, right? Where, like when I was a teenager, where it wasn't cool to talk about artists like him anymore. Well, now I'm into rock bands or I'm into EDM or whatever. But I've kind of come full circle on that. And I look at what he did and what was accomplished in his life, and I have big dreams and I have big goals. And whenever somebody looks at something or even says that it's impossible in the music industry or in anything else that I'm involved with, I think of Carmen. All right, as always, I love you guys. I hope you are enjoying the new set that I'm filming these videos in, and until next time, onward and upward.